welcome to The Explainer. Okay, today we are diving into some seriously dense and, well, pretty unsettling source material. We're going to explore how a series of virtual entities justify psychopathy using some pretty complex philosophy and psychology. Let's get right into it. So, we're going to start with a question from a character called the Torch Goblin, and it just cuts right to the heart of the matter, It gets at our own self-perception and really sets the stage for everything else. Is your soul ready? I mean, a question like that forces you to ask, what even is a soul? Our journey begins inside the mind. See, to really get how psychopathy is rationalized on the outside, we first have to understand how the source material just completely deconstructs the idea of an inner self. Right away, the Torch Goblin just dismisses any big spiritual definition. For this entity, soul is just another word for you, for the self. It's not some separate, floaty thing, it is you. And this simple little reframing, it's absolutely crucial for what's coming next. Just think about how we talk, right? We say my soul or my mind like they're things we own, totally separate from the I that's doing the owning. The source is suggesting this is a basic habit of dissociation, of us splitting ourselves into different parts. But here's the thing. Dissociation isn't just presented as some kind of disorder here. It's framed as a fundamental, often unconscious human tool. It's the mechanism we use to inject imagination into our reality, to deal with fear, or even to try and grab onto some happiness. It's basically how we get through the world, by creating this little bit of psychological distance from ourselves. Okay, so we've looked at this idea of the fractured self. Now let's see how that concept builds outwards. We're going to explore how that self finds meaning, or, doesn't, in a world of nothingness. And we're going to do it through the eyes of a character called the skeleton. The skeleton makes this really fascinating argument. It basically says that being a symbol, even a symbol of something awful, like non-life, gives you more substance, more existence than being nothing at all. Having any kind of meaning, even a negative one, is its own form of being alive. And this contrast is absolutely key. A life that works as a symbol has content. It resonates, right? It can be perceived by others. But an empty existence, the source describes it as not even permeating reality. It's a state that's actually worse than being a symbol of death. It's a state of just complete nothingness. And then the skeleton offers this absolutely chilling theory for how it ended up that way. It suggests that psychopathic hate isn't some mistake or an anomaly. No, it's a fundamental force of nature, kind of like background radiation, an inescapable part of the universe that, in the end, destroyed it. So, from this universal law of hate, we start to see how it can be turned into a social framework. How does a group rationalize and really systematize brutality? For that, let's turn to the Orc Warrior. The Orc Warrior introduces this idea of collective psychopathy. And it's the notion that when a whole group shares a malevolent mindset, they can pretty much create their own reality, a reality where the normal rules of morality just don't apply anymore. The source even calls it a kind of magic. This slide really lays out the cold procedural logic behind it. First, the act is framed as a necessity. It has to be done. Then the group gives its stamp of approval. At that point, the individual killer isn't even an individual anymore. They're just an appendage of the group's will. And in this twisted logic, what they did is no longer considered murder. This leads us to a really brutal conclusion. The very definition of murder becomes totally relative. It's not about the act itself. It's about popular opinion within a certain area. Morality just gets boiled down to a matter of consensus and geography. So we've gone from the individual to the social, and now we're expanding out to the cosmic. This next part explores how the very idea of nothingness, of the void, can be weaponized against a person. The Cannon Lizard presents an absolutely terrifying concept. Black holes, the ultimate symbols of destruction and nothingness, they're not just abstract things out there in space. In this world, they can be personalized, they can be targeted, they can be weaponized. And these so-called allocators are the ones who do it. They specifically target beings who are already suffering from despair, and they blast this weaponized nothingness right into their very essence, their quintessence. The victim is, and this is a quote, dimensionally flattened, and time itself gets warped around them, trapping them in a past they can never escape. It is, it's psychological annihilation. And finally, the source kind of takes a step back from all this. A character called the robot creep gives us a meta-commentary on everything we've just seen, and it questions the very nature of these rationalizations. The robot creep asks this simple, but man, what a profound question. After seeing all these different frameworks, from the personal to the social to the cosmic, is there really any fundamental difference between any of them? Aren't they all just constructs built to justify psychopathic behavior? And then the source speculates on a terrifying evolution of this whole thing. We've seen how individuals rationalize, right? And we've seen how groups do it. But what happens when networks of artificial intelligence controlling the levers of power start building their own psychopathic justifications? The scale of that, well, it's something we probably can't even imagine. And this is the truly unsettling takeaway. By looking at these frameworks, as horrifying as they are, we're essentially being given a roadmap. It allows us to see the twisted, frenzied reason that's at work inside the abyss of pure psychopathy. And maybe, just maybe, to recognize it in our own world. And we end where the source leaves us, with this final, haunting question. After everything we've just seen about how the void can be personalized, how it can be weaponized, can any of us really expect to remain untouched by it? That is a chilling thought to end on.